Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Shelby Bowen, and today we are talking about how to overcome cynicism in regards to feeling like all churches are horrible after you have maybe gone through spiritual abuse. If you're looking at the title, that's probably why you're here. Or you've gone through some kind of traumatic experience in the church and you are feeling like every church sucks. You're feeling like every pastor is horrible, all Christians are mean or hateful or abusive. However you're feeling, whatever cynical thoughts you're having, and you realize, I want to overcome these things. That this black and white thinking I have, I want to overcome it. That is what we're talking about in today's video. I am a Christian life coach, and if you would like to work with me one-on-one, I will link my resources down below. You can book a free 15-minute discovery call to talk with me to see if my services are right for you. So let's jump into why so many people feel cynical after going through spiritual abuse. I first want to say, it's a very normal feeling to have. I myself can say that I have felt very cynical after going through what I have in the church. And it took me a while, probably 2 years, until I was really ready to confront the cynicism that I had within my own heart. And I'm going to tell you that I don't know where you're at on your journey of healing, which is why I love working with a one-on-one coach, why I love doing what I do, and why I worked with a coach to overcome what I went through. And it is because God is so kind and merciful and gracious and patient with us as we heal and as we process through the hard questions we have towards Him, questions we have towards the church. And those first few years, those first few 1 year months of healing was really just focused on me. Like, am I okay? How am I processing through the things that I experienced? And how am I moving through the experiences that I had in the church that were very traumatic for me? And so that might be where you're at still. Maybe you're not ready to confront cynicism. And the beautiful thing about healing is that we do not have to confront, and we shouldn't, every single thing we need to work on all at once. This is a process. Let's peel back the layers one by one. And so this is a layer, and it's for you to determine whether or not this is the time for you to confront these things. And maybe you just listen, and maybe you kind of put these things in your tool belt to utilize when it's time for you to maybe process some of the cynicism that you're wanting to overcome. So what is cynicism? So cynicism is having a hopeless narrative and outlook on life, or in this case, maybe cynicism is having a negative outlook on all churches are going to be horrible, all pastors are abusive, all leadership is too demanding. That is what cynicism is, a hopeless black and white outlook on the narrative of your life. And the reason that we adopt cynicism as a coping mechanism, and if you didn't already know that it is a coping mechanism, now you do, is because when you went through something traumatic, your brain said, how can I protect myself from having to go through this pain again in the future? We have a fear inside of us. Oh my gosh, this traumatic experience I had in a church, I don't want to have to go through that again. So I'm going to adopt this coping mechanism that will tell me that everything is horrible, that all churches are horrible and all pastors are horrible. And that way I can just not even go. I'm not even going to engage. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to leave that where it's at. And I'm just going to just assume everything's horrible. And that's going to be the attitude I have towards it. And that protects us. It protects us from the fear that this could happen again. So we're buying that safety through a sense of control, self-control. That if everybody's just bad, if all churches are just bad, then I can't get hurt. And maybe you're listening to this and you're like, this reminds me of somebody I know. Maybe it's yourself or maybe it's somebody else in your life. And you're like, that person is so cynical. They always have a negative outlook. They're always hopeless. Everything is negative. Everything's going to have a bad outcome. They're always the pessimist in everything. And maybe understanding why people adopt this cynicism will help you extend a little bit of grace either to yourself or to that person who's in your life to understand that it's really hard to overcome these fears. It's more important, and sometimes it's even harder to stay in it than it is to work through it and overcome these things. But we make a choice. And not everybody is equipped with the knowledge or the tools or understanding of why they have this belief, why they have this coping mechanism, and how they can overcome these things. And so maybe if that person's in your life and you're close with them and you're somebody who speaks into their life, because we don't want to just go around offering unsolicited advice to people who aren't asking for it. And the thing is, people want to have to overcome these things. But if you have somebody in your life and you know that they have cynicism and they know that themselves, because I think we all have a little tad bit of cynicism. Life is hard. We all go through things in life and we adopt these negative outlooks towards something in our life. And so again, this is a normal thing to walk through. And if that person in your life has that, then be gracious with them. Have understanding that they got here because something happened to them in their life, something really hard and something really painful. And we're going to talk through 3 steps of how you can overcome cynicism in your life, or how you can help them overcome it in their life. With that being said, let's jump into step 1 of overcoming cynicism. And that is be skeptical with yourself. Be skeptical of the narrative in your mind. If you leave a conversation, whether that's a social gathering, a family gathering, maybe you're around your friends, and you leave and you're like, oh my gosh, they all hate me. They all think I suck. They all think I'm a loser. Okay, well, let's be a little skeptical of that. Have they said something or done something to make you feel that way? Or is that the narrative in your mind that you're going to protect yourself from vulnerability, protect yourself from getting close with people by just assuming they don't like you? They don't like you. They think you're weird. They think that you're not good enough. They think you're not pretty enough. They think you're not smart enough. So I'm not even going to try. And you might be listening to that and you're like, wow, that is so me. And I know that I've had moments in my life where that was so true, where we just assume that people don't like us. And part of that's an insecurity, right? That there's something at some point in our life where someone has treated us poorly because of who we were. And we just assumed that everybody then believes that just who we are is not enough, that we believe who we are is not enough. And so having that cynical perspective that everyone's just talking about you behind your back, then you're going to react to that too. Then you might start talking about everybody behind their back because you assume that's what they're doing for you. But what if those people in your life are saying really kind things about you behind your back? What if those people in your life really value your relationship with them? What if those people in your life really love you? What if they are excited to be around you? What if? Good. What if? Not often do we allow ourselves to think of it in such a positive way that these people might actually really enjoy me. They might really love being around me. No, we just assume that people don't like us. We assume that everybody hates us, that when we walk in a room, they're judging us. They're wondering, they're thinking in their minds that we look fat or unprofessional or just weird or not smart enough. But let's start being skeptical of those thoughts. Have they done something to confirm that that thought is true? Has that church done something to confirm that what you experienced in that other church is true? And I'm not saying don't be on guard or don't have boundaries or don't look out for red flags, because all of those things you should do. And I talk about that a lot in a lot of other videos, so you can look at those on my channel for more on red flags and what to look out for in protecting your heart and guarding yourself. But that's different than just automatically assuming that every church is going to be horrible when you walk through the doors. And so when you go and you sit down in that pew or in that seat or whatever the situation looks like, ask yourself, are they doing something to confirm the fact that they are just like that other church? What have they done? And if the answer is no, that there is nothing that they've done to confirm that narrative in your mind, then put that thought on the shelf. Sweep it aside in your brain and allow yourself to look for the fact that maybe they will be different. And gosh, I know it can be exhausting. When my husband and I left some of the churches that we were a part of where a lot of the things happened in our life, it was really hard. And I'm not going to lie, we went to a lot of churches that did things that had red flags that reminded us of some of the experiences we had in the past. And it is hard to continue moving forward. It is hard continuing to press forward. And we took a season off from trying to find a church building. And if you're in that place, that's okay. I'm not saying that you need to just jump right back into it with a good attitude, because it's not easy. And sometimes we need a break, and sometimes we need to rest and just trust that God's leading our steps, that he's going to guide us, and that he's going to take us to where we need to be. And so with that being said, I have found a church. And when I walked through the doors that first time, I didn't have any anxiousness about, oh my gosh, what are these people going to be like? Is this going to be like an abusive environment? I didn't have any of that. In fact, I was able to look at all of the things, sorry, I have something in my eye, that they were doing. And I was like, wow, I love that. I love that he said that. I love that this is happening. I love the work that they're doing in the community. I love all of these things. And that breaks that cynicism within us. And so I'm going to move on to point number 2, which is having a reciprocity mindset. What you do matters. When you trust people, they are more likely to become trustworthy. When you mistrust, they become less trustworthy. So what you do in the church matters. If we want to see a change in the way the state of the church operates, then we have to be the change in the church. Okay? If we want to see less of these overly charismatic people with these huge social media followings going on stage and pretending like they're a pastor but not actually doing life and walking with people, then we need to stop going to those kinds of churches and go and support the ones who aren't doing things that way, if that's what's important to you. If you want to go to a church that has good accountability with their money, then stop going to the church that has bad accountability with their money. Be the change. Be involved in your church. Offer up ideas, be a volunteer, be somebody who is a part of the change and not just critical of the outside and not willing to jump into the dirt and help fix and clean what's going on inside the house. Because if it's an abusive environment, leave, run, don't try to help in that environment. That's not going to be helpful for you. But we are humans and there are places that aren't abusive, but do need a little bit of help. And we can offer that up. You can be the change in that place. So when it comes to being the change, I know this can be something that would feel really overwhelming, especially when you're in the midst of healing and processing so many different emotions and experiences you had. And so leave that aside, put that aside until this is a time that you're ready for, after you have healed, after you have processed the things you've been through. What can you do to be a change in the world? And I'm not asking you to come on YouTube and do what I do. This is what I love to do. This is what I have a passion for. But maybe that just looks like when the time is right and you do find, whether that is a literal church building or a group of people who you gather together with and do church with, do life with, we are the church, that you be a positive place, that you be an empathetic ear, that you have a shoulder for somebody to cry on, that you be the person that you would want in your life. And let that just be how we live our everyday lives for people in general, right? Like, we want trustworthy friends, and we need to be trustworthy people. We want people who are vulnerable, who are authentic with us, and we need to be that for other people too. And so much of relationships, we assume the worst of people. And sorry, my cat is going crazy down here. We assume the worst in people because of some of the things that we've experienced. But most people want to be trustworthy, and they want trustworthy people. Most people are kind and want to offer kindness and receive kindness. We just go on social media, you go on the news, and you are hearing the worst of the worst. The people on social media who have the most controversial and extreme things to say are the ones whose content gets pushed the most. And so no wonder we think that that's just the state of the world, that everybody is like this. But, studies are showing, even when it comes to politics, that most people lean more towards the middle, these extreme left, extreme right, it isn't really like that. That's how we feel when we go on social media and we see things and we read things. But most people are more towards the center, and most people believe that the people on the other side hate them and don't like them, when in reality, I think that we all want to love, and we all want to be kind, and we all want to receive those things. So be that in the church, be that in your life, be that in your relationships. The third and final thing that I want to say is positive gossip. And what is positive gossip, you say? You ask me? Well, positive gossip is just saying nice things that you see in a church or about somebody. You know how often we assume people, again, are saying bad things about us. But why don't we, when you see, oh my gosh, like you're walking around, I have this friend and she, makes the best bread and she gives it to all of her neighbors and does these beautiful acts of kindness for people. Or, oh my gosh, I go to this church down the road and they are so transparent with their money and their pastor's really kind to people and he doesn't do bad things. Like promote the good that you see in the world, the good that you see in people, and that will help train the cynicism in your brain to recognize that it isn't so black and white, that the world isn't just one good or bad or all good, Seeing the good and having positive talk, having positive gossip will train that cynicism within your mind to see maybe these narratives I've been telling myself aren't true. Because when you go through a traumatic experience, it's normal to see everything through the lens of that trauma. But we don't want to live our life that way. In this dull, everything's black and white and gray, and well, not gray because there's no in between, but you know what I mean? There's no color. There's no color in the world. There's no joy. There's no kindness. There's no good people. And it takes time, it takes healing, and it takes processing, but don't stay in that place. Don't live in the black and white. Don't live in a world devoid of color, because I promise you it'll impact your life. I promise you it's going to impact your relationships, your career, the purpose that you have when you wake up in the morning. It's going to impact how you feel about yourself, how you interact with the world around you, and it will make for a very miserable experience. We can't control the bad things that have happened in the church to us or the bad experiences that we've had in life, but we can control how we beat ourselves up about it, the shame that we feel because of it. We can control how that impacts us going forward with the rest of our life. And at some point, you have to make the choice whether or not you're going to stay there in the pain and choose to have the cynicism and the negative mindset, or if you're going to do the work to overcome those thoughts. To not allow somebody else's actions ruin the rest of your life. To get out of the place where you're just the victim, to where you're succumbing to life, and to where everything just constantly bad is always happening to you. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there isn't victims, right? That you haven't been through something horrible, and that you are a victim to somebody else's actions. But you don't want to become the victim to everything in your life, to every cynicism, to every thought, to every experience, that the woe is me, everything bad is, the world is against me. God is against me, the world is against me, my family's against me, everybody's against me. You don't want to have that attitude for the rest of your life. And it is unfair. And it is extremely frustrating that somebody else's actions have led you to the place where now you have to heal from these things. But what I can tell you is that you can become more empathetic than you were before, that you can become even more compassionate of a person than you were before, that you can become even more emotionally intelligent, that you can become even more confident, that despite what that person did to you, you can become even more than what you were before because of how you healed, because of how you move forward, because of the kindness you offered yourself and the kindness you offered other people. So choose healing. Choose healing. Choose to process through those things, because I promise you it's worth it. There is light on the other side. The grass really is greener, okay? I know it doesn't always feel like it. I wondered if I would ever not feel like a zombie, right? Like, you're kind of just dead to life. The world's happening around you and you're just there. I wondered if I would ever stop feeling that way, and I did. And I feel even better now than I did before. And you can feel that way too. It is attainable. It is actionable. These are step-by-step processes that you can implement in your life to feel that way. And this is the life that God has for you, is to be an overcomer, is to conquer the things that have come your way. And while it was never God's will for these horrible or traumatic things to happen to you, there is peace in His will, which is healing, which is to recover, which is to be in relationship with Him and love Him and let Him love you. So with all that being said, These free resources are an amazing tool to help you heal and to help you overcome, but working with somebody one-on-one to process your experiences, to help question you and some of the cynical thoughts you have, to help you move through the painful emotions and experiences and overcome the shame and the triggers is really impactful. I did that in my own life, and I hope that my services would be something that you would be interested in if you feel like that's something that you're working through and processing through. And if you would like to book that free 15-minute discovery call or go ahead and purchase one of my coaching packages, all of that information is listed down below. Let me know if this video helped you guys, and I'll see you soon.